Voice testing. We got a vibe. Hello. Testing. We got a vibe check going on, guys. Oh, I'm all over the place. I was thinking, like, if I'm already this way, why not vibe it? Like, why not just let my podcast be like my vibe? It only seems right to me. I don't know. There's like a lag. So we'll see if that'll get fixed. But yeah. Uh, I don't know if I have much to say, but clearly my voice is gone again. I'm working on it, guys. I promise. I really truly am. As you can see, I'm drinking tea. I'm clearing my throat. I'm on a break from the writer's retreat. I've been doing that all weekend, but I'll give you guys updates in a second. It's so weird to try to talk right now. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry you guys have to hear me this way, but let's go. Quick pause, because if you love dark stories that don't flinch, Olympic War isn't a soft love story. It's violent, it's chosen, and it cost everything. Through war, betrayal, and survival, Moonstone fights for devotion that refuses to die. This is a Black, multicultural dystopian series about power, sacrifice, and what rises from the ashes. Olympic War and Phoenix War. Read them wherever books are sold. Hey, Unbothered fam, and welcome to another episode of Basically Unbothered Recaps. We're here. I don't have a voice, and we're just gonna keep it pushing. We're just gonna keep going. We're gonna keep the vibe going. We got a whole vintage look now. I'm loving it. I'm loving it so much. So now you guys can kind of feel how I feel. But yeah, let's get started. I am literally in the middle of doing the writer's retreat right now, and I had to record later than I normally would, which is okay. Honestly, like, it's fine. How do I feel about the writer's retreat? I plan on like fully talking about that in the next recapped episode, but I'm excited for the people that I've gotten to meet. We went down to the Eastern Market today, and that was really cool. I got this hat, which I love. I also got like a body spray, and I learned a new way to use an emulsifier. And the like business person in me is so happy right now, or just the like earth witch in me is so happy, and finding ways to like make sprays and getting to talk to more people. Because when I started like my business, I didn't really have anyone to talk to about it. Like I just didn't. And so it was really hard for me. And now, going out and communicating and getting to connect with people and talk to people, so excited for like that is a beautiful thing of my anxiety just kind of escaping me, is that now I can fully like live in myself and get to talk and discuss with more people and not be so afraid. So I'm really, really, really enjoying that. There's obviously pros and cons to this. But like I said, we'll discuss it more later on as it comes to a close. My biggest thing right now is just having to wake up so early, because I don't like waking up early. And I've accepted this about myself at this point. Like, I don't need to wake up early. I don't need to fall into all these things. I don't need to do this. I can just be me, and that's good enough. And it's a beautiful like realization that I've had. Um, but like I don't need to do all those things. Everything is just okay if I'm just me. So that was the hardest thing. But let's get into some topics that we have to discuss. The first one being the Different World spinoff. A Different World has announced that they are doing a spinoff, and it's coming out this freaking fall. Like, what? What do you mean? I'm so excited. I was talking to my friend about it, and apparently this is going to be like with the original cast, which makes me so excited because I love A Different World. I watched it later on in my life. I've watched it a couple times. Whitney and Dwayne were goals. I don't know if that's like if they should be goals, but Whitney and Dwayne were goals for me. So it's so exciting. I really want to see it, but I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna like be at the same level. So it's titled A Simply Different World. It is slated to premiere on Netflix fall 2026. It says the story centers around Deborah Wayne, the daughter of the original characters, Whitney Gilbert and Dwayne Wade, and she begins her freshman year at their alma mater, historically black college, Hillman College. The show follows her as she tries to carve out her own legacy while escaping the shadow of her famous parents alongside a fresh class of students. So, Kadeem Harrison is making a return. Jasmine Guy is making a return. They said other returning faces will include Cree Summer and Charnel Brown. There will be a new generation of Hillman students led by Malia Joy Moon as Deborah. The cast also includes Elijah Kai, Chimbikin Uche, Cornell Young the Fourth, Jordan Aaron Hall, and Kennedy Reese. The original creative force, Debbie Allen's returning as executive producer and director, with Felicia Pride serving as the showrunner. So it's exciting. We're all kind of really excited about it. It's going to be good to have a nostalgic thing. We were just recently talking about, like, me and my dad and someone else, that there were more Black TV shows on, regular networks back then, 20 years ago, than there is now. And that's such a weird thing as we've like grown into society. That's just not a thing that you see. And it's really hard to find, like, to me, what I consider really good quality Black TV shows, not Black TV shows that are all about like the drama. BET got that on lock. Tyler Perry got that on lock. And I love that for him. Get your bag. But also, I want like the wholesome shows and I did I did like the fact that we had Blackish and Grownish, but I want more. And so this is being exciting, although again, it's not going to be on your major networks. It is going to be on Netflix, but still having that show feels like, okay, cool, great, we're back. So I'm so excited for us to get that and see where it goes. Also, another little petty thing. So, two things, right? First thing, Cat's Eye announces their tour. And I saw this on my social media and from LCA, which is Little Caesars Arena. And the photo does not have Manon. We have still no explanation about what's going on with Manon. Is she coming back to the group? Is she not coming back to the group? What's happening? Have you guys just pushed her out? You're not like Black women. Let me know. And I have this weird theory now that you could tell by some of the quality of her hair, like some of the wigs, some of the weaves that she had going on, that quality, it was not the best. It was, in fact, not giving at all. And I don't know how they felt about her. There's so much commentary about Black women in those spaces and how people don't take the care and consideration of Black hair and how it's different and we have different textures and everything like that. That's not a conversation that we have. And I wish that it was a conversation that we had more, because it pops up in pop culture all the time. But Cat's Eye has not said anything about Manon. And Hyben Geffen's second project that they had with some of the girls who didn't make it from the Dream Girl Academy, Lexi, Samara, and Emily, they just finally announced their full group, and it is featuring a younger girl. So all the other girls are older. It's featuring a younger girl named Sakura. And the people aren't convinced. The people aren't, they're not happy. They're not, they're not feeling it. And honestly, I'm not either. It's really, really weird because everyone in the girl group just feels really young, but in a weird way. Like Blackpink, they were really young when they first started, but they had like a different kind of semi-mature look to them that made it feel like us adults who are consuming their content are like, oh, okay, we can relate. These girls are shorter in stature. They look really young. They all look like they should be in high school. They don't really feel like we should be like watching them, or they should be, I don't want to say that they shouldn't be superstars, but there's just something that's disconnecting from it. And then they release their song, which is Party Before the Party. And it's just not giving. It's giving a misstep. It's giving, what the fuck were you guys thinking? Like, how did we get here? How did we get here? Like, how do we fix this? How do we make this better? I don't know. Legitimately don't know. But it's not the vibe. It's just not even if the song wasn't so weird, and even the dance, which is like Party Before the Party, it's just giving like teenage kid group energy. And maybe that's what they're going for, but I don't even know who their target audience is, but the vocals weren't giving when they did their performance. And it was just not good. It was just not good. Hybe and Geffen and Hybe are not having a good time right now. They are sitting in their like offices scratching their heads like, how the fuck did we get to this place? No one knows. No one legitimately knows how you got here. Go back. Redo it. Reverse this. how do we stop this from happening? We don't. We're just stuck here now. So lo siento. That's just the vibe we have now. But while all of this is happening, Mano quietly drops a song called Diva. And guys, I listened to it. It's worth a listen. It's worth you, and it's on Apple Music. It's worth you listening to it. It's worth the download. I haven't seen it like make big waves on the social media that I'm on, but that doesn't mean that it's not making big waves. That just means that I personally have not seen it. But that being said, the funny part is it's called Diva, and people feel like it's making a hint, like giving us a little like, this is what the problem is. And my big issue with this is just the continuing conversation about Banal being lazy. Meanwhile, she's working. We are talking about Banal being lazy and not wanting to work, but she's had, collabs with Tommy Hilfiger. She's had collabs with so many people. Coach, like, she is in fact working. But the question that we have and it's basically on basically unbothered, just like the one with the guest, is that, are we so stuck in this hustle culture that we don't even pay attention that this isn't what everybody is about? Everybody in the world isn't obsessed with hustling like we are. Everybody in the world isn't obsessed with working when you're sick, working when you're tired, not giving your body the time to rest. People legitimately do take breaks for their mental health, for their health in general. And that's one of the things that Manal said when she was interviewed. Like, they call me lazy. And it just was simply that I did not know that this was the culture here. And maybe they should have explained it to me better. But where I'm from, this is what Manal is saying, where I'm from, we rest. And so it's funny that, some people might see it as a diva, but is she a diva, or is she just holding to the standards that she created, or that was, the boundaries, the standards, all these things that she wanted? Does that make her a diva? Or does that make her what we are telling people that they should be in 2026 anyways? If we're telling people to set their boundaries and rest and protect their peace, but you can't do it if you're a celebrity? No, that's not how it works. And the problem is because we want to consume the media so much that we don't actually give the celebrities a time to break. Like, I remember when Blackpink didn't come out with an album for like 2 years and did suck. But it's also like, they're touring, they're doing their own thing, they're being individuals. Why do we require them to give us something on our timeline regardless of where they're at personally? I don't know. I really wish that we had an answer to this home and all thing. It frustrates me. And um, it just, I hope that whatever comes to her beautifully. And I don't wish ill on the girls. Maybe rebrand, maybe do something else, but like, don't say that you're only going to be, it's the six of us or nothing. It's the six of us or nothing. And you don't mean that. Because we'll all remember. Social media will remember. The video lives for life. So figure it the fuck out. Because if it's the six of you or nothing, why are you premiering this tour with only 5? How long is this hiatus that we started at the beginning of the year going to be? I don't know. That brings me to another question. I was at a dance competition and I have feelings about that dance competition. First of all, it was in Troy, Michigan. If you fucking know, you fucking know. Like, I want that to be the first statement. If you know anything about Troy, Michigan, you know. People think that like anywhere near Detroit is so diverse and so ethnically open. It's not. It's not. And that competition that I went to showed it. Because how do you have an entire group of girls that are all Black from one school? There's only one school that has an all Black group of girls, and they're the only school that doesn't place. Not even win, not even get first, second, or third, doesn't even place. What does that say? That's weird as fuck. And the interesting thing that I noticed is when I'm watching these larger groups from other schools, the person that stands out the most is not the non-person of color, is not the white person, is actually the person of color, whether they be Asian, Indian, African, African American, whatever. They were the people who stood out the most. They were the people who had the most personality. They were the people who you wanted to watch. And what does that say about where we are in society, right? People of color, specifically women of color, are taught that we have to do 7 times better to be treated at the same level, which means that we're working so much harder and we're holding ourselves to such a different standard than everybody else is. So while that's going on, we're outperforming non-people of color. And that's not even saying that we're better or we have more rhythm or whatever the stupid things that people want to create. It's simply because we learned that we had to work harder, like legitimately had to work harder. And that's the big thing. That's the big, like, And again, it goes back to this like lazy comment when in fact we aren't lazy, when in fact we're working harder. You know, the writing retreat's done for the day. Everybody's kind of going back into the room and resting and then they're going to eat. I'm not going to eat because after I finish all of that, I have to come here, I have to record, I have to prep for 2 podcasts, I got to do some business stuff, shipping out some books for promotions. Like there's a lot of things that I have to do. I'm working harder than other people in my area. So like I want to get rid of this lazy stigma that they have with Manal and with Black women and with women of color in general. We're simply just working harder than all of you. So suck it the fuck up. If you want to be at our levels again, work as hard as we are. Very simple. All right. Our next topic is before we get into our 2 main topics today, and I'm so excited for our 2 main topics today. Side note real quick. I finished season 5 of Criminal Minds. What the fuck? What the fuck is my only statement. I could never not binge the show. Secondly, an actress that I've loved since I was really young, which is Hayden Panettiere. I mean, and really young means that I love Hayden Panettiere since I was a kid watching Remember the Titans. I remember that my dad used to like he showed me the movie and Hayden Panettiere's character, he was like, this is like who you are to me. Like you're this kind of girl. And it just made me feel so connected to my dad in that moment. And so that was really nice. So from there, I followed Hayden Panettiere's career loosely and I've just loved her as an actress. I loved Hero. I love when she did, what was the documentary of Amanda Knox? I loved her in Heroes. I loved her in Nashville. And so then she kind of disappeared off the face of the earth. And so I did listen to her podcast, which was 2 hours long with Jay Shetty, which is on his podcast is On Purpose with Jay Shetty. And I'm getting ready to read her book, but we're going to review that as well. But first, let's catch up on some Taylor Frankie Paul shit. And guys, why is there always shit to talk about for Taylor Frankie Paul? At this point, it's not even Taylor Frankie Paul talking about Taylor Frankie Paul. It's other people having conversations about Taylor Frankie Paul. Why? So this week, Michaela comes into the chat, and a lot of the girls have been silent. Some of the girls, like Layla and Miranda, kind of openly made their statement about it, but they made their statement in the beginning. Michaela's coming out and making a statement. Let me see if I can find the statement, because the statement is wild. And a lot of people are like, yeah, Michaela, stand your ground. And I'm like, ew, this is gross. This is gross. Like, for all these girls to call each other friends, whether you get into a fight or not, that does not give you a right to go onto social media and curse out your friend or express your friends. At this point, we weren't even really looking for you guys to make statements anymore. It was done a month ago, maybe, but it's done now. So like, why are you making her statement now? But more importantly, maybe it's just me. As a friend, I would never make a statement bashing my friend on social media or someone I claim that I care about so much, regardless of what they've done. Because that's just not like, you and I know what the fuck happened. There have been so many people in the span of me doing this podcast who have done me fucking wrong. Have you ever heard me bash them? Now, sometimes I'll communicate like this happened or that happened, but you guys have never in your lives heard me bash them. What's the need? There is no need. What's the purpose? There is no purpose. For what? It literally gives me nothing. I gain nothing from bashing people that I care about on social media, unless they have completely and truly and deeply screwed me over and I need to speak my piece about it. Not necessarily bash them, but talk about how it's affected me. But that's not what she did. So let's get to what she did. It says, if I was knowingly giving myself rashes, I wouldn't be expecting sympathy from anyone online or privately. Imagine someone told me, hey, we know for 100% certainty that if you stop using this cream, your rashes will go away. Then imagine I continue to use that cream while still asking people for sympathy and help. At some point, my friends would probably say, we feel sorry for you, but stop using the cream so you can heal. And if I continue to use it over and over again for years, knowing that the outcome every single time was the same, it would eventually get to a point where the people who genuinely care about me could no longer enable me by continuing to give sympathy and support to behavior that's clearly keeping me stuck in an unhealthy cycle. I absolutely agree that compassion should be felt for people involved for the situation itself. And believe me, I have felt sick to my stomach and horrible for what everyone involved must be feeling and going through. However, it is not my job to enable poor or dangerous behavior from either party, especially when children are involved. It goes on to talk about other things, but like that first statement, comparing, this is why it's hard sometimes to give these women platforms, not because they're terrible, but because they're coming from this Mormon lifestyle, which has been compared to a cult. I'm not going to make a statement on it. It's not my life, but I am going to tell you, people do compare this lifestyle to being in a cult. And I've listened to podcasts where they talk about how even in college, when they go to Mormon colleges as doctors, they're not learning everything that they need to know about human anatomy because they're not showing you. There's certain things that they don't teach you in these schools, because when you go to Mormon church, you usually go to Mormon schools and you do all of these things that you aren't learning. And these women have a platform now, and they're like babies. They just don't know. And so from this sense with Michaela, I feel sad because like you don't have the tools to understand it. But to compare someone being abused to an autoimmune disease is completely different things. First of all, an autoimmune disease, from what she's describing it, is if you have rash, don't use this cream. That is something that you yourself have complete control over. Now, I'm not saying that you have control over autoimmune diseases, but I'm using her metaphor or her, you know, simile as a reference, right? She's saying that if you have something and someone tells you don't use this cream or you'll get a rash, you have the 100% control to not use that cream. The difference between that and being in an abusive cycle with another person is that you don't always have the control. And not because you can't. You don't have the ability to physically walk away, but because another party is involved. And when another party is involved, that is an added layer of complication. You can't just walk away from a toxic cycle. Like you can walk away from stop using deodorant. I use native deodorant. There's native deodorants that burn my skin. So I have to use sensitive native deodorant. Easy said, done. Yes, if I kept using the non-sensitive one and I kept getting rashes, fucking call me out. But when you are in an abusive cycle, it is different. It is not easy to walk away because it chemically alters your brain. The way that your brain processes things, the way that you consume things, the way that you think about yourself, the way that you think about others, the way that you behave is completely different. And that is where Michaela just went so wrong in this and was so damaging. And the real truth is, she's not a bad person. She just doesn't know. And she thinks, like so many other people in this world think, that you have the ability to just walk away. And it is not that simple. I was in a toxic relationship. And I want to clarify this because I feel like that person has unfollowed me or whatever. People have sent him shit. And like to be clear, that is a person that I to this day love. That is a person that I to this day think is a great person. I just don't think he was good at relationships and I don't think that he was good at me. But got caught in a cycle of him lying and cheating on me. And he can have his own feelings the fuck about it. That's his right. I'm never going to take that right away. You can feel however you want to feel about a situation, and I'm going to feel however I want to feel about the situation. And I was stuck in that cycle for 6 out of the 8 years we were together. I could not get out of it. And I tried. I truly, deeply tried. And to other people, it may not look like I had. There were times where I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing this. He hurts me. My heart is broken. And then you feel like something in you is gone. There's this pain that you feel from being hurt by this person. But because you have this connection, and oftentimes it's like trauma bonded or love bombed that kind of form this fast connection. They're the person that hurts you, but they're also the person that you need to make the pain go away. And when you try to reach out to people, they just don't understand and they say the wrong things and they really want to try to help you, but they can't. And you get caught up in it and you're just spinning and you're spinning and you're spiraling. And then the only way to make it not hurt anymore, ironically, is to get back. Because when you get back, I'm so sorry. I love you. You mean so much to me. You can't break free from it's such a complex thing. That's why it's called CPT. Wow. CPTSD. Like it's not as simple as just walking away. And so sharing that is such a damaging thing, right? And then to get in, it says that doesn't mean I don't love them or want the best for individual futures. It just means I cannot sit here and pretend it's okay that years of destructive behavior are now being discussed more than ever online and turned into a pick side game when the only correct side anyone should truly be on all of this side is children. And let me be clear. If you think that Taylor Frankie Paul doesn't care about her kids and doesn't consider what this is doing to her kids every day, you're fucking wrong. I grew up in a lot of abusive things. I grew up in an abusive household. I don't think for a second that my mom didn't think about me and my brother at all. I think that that might have just been like her lifeline and she didn't know how to deal with it. She didn't know how to handle it. She didn't have the tools. And it doesn't mean that she didn't care about us because she stayed or whatever. It simply meant that she didn't have the tools. And growing up and maturing means realizing that sometimes people just don't have the tools. They're not bad guys. They're not seeking destructive behavior. They're not trying to make this pick me thing, which is weird because Taylor Pinky Paul isn't trying to be like, pick me, pick me. This whole situation was created by Dakota. And yet, and still, somehow, some way, what a man chose to fucking do is a woman's responsibility to explain. Make that make sense. What a man chose to fucking do is now a woman's responsibility to change, to explain, to fix, to do all of these things for. It has been proven for the most part. Even the judge says it is clear Dakota is the main aggressor in this situation. And yet somehow, some way, people are still blaming Taylor. Oh, well, your behavior was destructive. How the fuck are you supposed to behave when someone's abusing you? Please tell me. How do you think someone's supposed to behave when they're being abused, when their brain chemistry is being altered, when they're in fight or flight, when they cannot fully respond to anything because they are being overwhelmed and overloaded? How should someone behave? They tell you that when you grieve, there's no right way to grieve. Everybody grieves differently. So why do you expect her to behave a certain way that you expect? Because you think that you would have handled that a certain way, which is weird because Michaela has things that are going on. She has things that are going on with her and her husband. And we're just like, people might be, oh, maybe you should be doing this and you should do that. She's handling it the only way that she knows how. So why does she expect Taylor to handle it differently? Because there's 1,000 ways that people could be, Michaela, you need to handle this differently. But she knows that she's handling the best way that she knows how. What are we expecting from her? It's just crazy. Taylor has obviously responded, and she said she is the epitome of someone that was waiting for my downfall and not only watched it, but clearly kicking me too. I rarely, if I ever cried to her for help. They always wanted an update on my life. Let's not get that twisted. If she is exhausted of me as I tried to stay home and suffer in silence, just like I was doing currently and still coming at me comparing rashes and cream to my situation. I'm fed up, but I know she was going through her own stuff and I didn't want to make it worse. Clearly, she can't do the same. P.S. She can find her way to the door if she doesn't want to film with me next. And I agree, like, all of these women are profiting off of her pain. Michaela is making herself relevant by talking about what's going on with Taylor Frankie Paul. You're profiting off her pain. You didn't have to say shit. After everything came out, after all the data came out, after Jesse came out and defended her and said that it was clear that at the time Dakota was trying to give us this whole image, but the image was wrong. And I now know that. Why still do you not believe her? So the judge says it's Dakota. Jesse says it's Dakota. Production says it's Dakota. And y'all are like, it's Taylor. And this is what happens when you come from a society that is men focused. It's a male centered society. It's a patriarchal society to its T. You are always fine tuned, underlying to side with the man. Because that is how they are taught from childhood to adult. And that is their big issue, is even though everything's coming to clear, they still feel like it's Taylor's responsibility to walk away from what a man is doing to her. Not that it's the man's responsibility to not do it to her in the first place. And that's just where it's fucked. We're putting all the responsibility on Taylor because she didn't walk away. And we're not putting any responsibility on Dakota because he did the behavior. For the love of Moses, guys, how do we get better? Like, how do we do that? I don't even know. But we're gonna leave that. Hopefully we get more updates. I had more to say, but it's a lot. Dealing with it a lot. I can't even imagine how Taylor is doing. I love that she is sharing what other experts on social media have been talking about this and how this has created a bigger conversation around all of these things. And I hope that we can continue to have that conversation. And I hope that it can continue to give us understanding and growth. Personally, I do wanna say that the saddest thing is that what Taylor said in another post that I didn't read is right. She has not considered what her words have done to other women. She's so focused on trying to get back at Taylor, trying to hurt her, trying to make her statement for Taylor, that she hasn't considered that her words might actually be damaging other people now. And that's my take on it, guys. We're gonna get off of this and we're gonna start talking about some criminal minds. Looking for your next favorite author, your next obsession, or just a room full of people who get it? Then you need to be at the Pages Against the Patriarchy event on June 27th. This is a virtual event featuring 20 incredible authors coming together for a day of books, conversation, community, and stories that challenge the world around us. Whether you love romance, fantasy, sci fi, indie gems, or books that leave you staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m., there's going to be something for you. Come hang out with the passionate readers, discover new authors, and celebrate storytelling that takes up space unapologetically. Again, that's Pages Against the Patriarchy, happening virtually on June 27th, featuring 20 authors. For more information, head to pagesagainstthepatriarchy.com. Bring your TBR list. It's about to get reckless. Oh my gosh. Season 5 is rough. Okay. Season 5 is rough. There were some really rough episodes. I have notes on those rough episodes. We're going to get to it. But like, Hotch had a terrible season in the beginning. That man was going through it. I will also say that Morgan had a terrible season this season. He went from being confused to people accusing him of things to him having to be more of the support system for the team as things start to really affect the team and the team becomes more scattered, more functioning. There's so many things going on that it's just like, this is crazy. Then we also have freaking Reed in crutches. And I was like, what? And that's, it's interesting because that's how you know it's a real life injury because he would have only been in it like for an episode or two. And when I was 3 episodes in and I was like, oh, he's still on these crutches. He real life hurt himself. And I looked it up and it was because he had this dance injury. And he apparently it took months for him to get to a place where he could walk without the crutches. And then he had like a cane and now he's walking, but he's not running or anything. And I'm like, my poor baby. That was a struggle. I can't imagine like that. I don't agree with some of the things that they require from actors and actresses. Some of the things like in their life they have to give up to do this. But I do understand it some because it's like you were just dancing and now an entire different arc might have to be written for you. But season 5 was intense. And everybody tells me that all the seasons just get better and better. And I'm like, this was so intense. So let's get into some of the things that I felt were like, what the fuck? We're going to leave some of the good ones for the end, but we're going to get into some of the points that were just like, how is this crazy? Um, let's see. I guess the first one is just kind of talking about some of the episodes. So the dollhouse episode, that one was really sad. It made me wonder if like I love the TV show Dollhouse. I love it. Maybe one day I'll re-binge and I'll cover it. I love that TV show. There was like an episode that was also an episode in Dollhouse, and I don't know if this is like a thing that commonly reoccurs in in true crime type of things or just, TV shows. But that one had a really sad twist on it because this woman was kidnapping women and dressing them up as dolls and placing them in places. And it was really sad. And, but then you realize that the reason why she was doing it was that her mother died and then her father started sexually abusing her so that she wouldn't tell people. He used electroshock therapy to like try to suppress the memories. And then he would give her dolls after he assaulted her. And This shit is crazy. This shit is wild. And then one day he moved her into a house and he wouldn't let her take her dolls, which was like her only sense of like normalcy. And he started giving them to other girls that he was molesting. And so she had a psychotic break and she started trying to collect her dolls herself. And the way that it ends is like Reed it says, "Hey, these are your dolls. If you let me get to them, you can have them. Wherever you're gonna go next, you can have these dolls." And the heartbreaking moment of she's like, "I can like they'll be mine. You won't take them away from me." He's like, "No." She gives up everything just to have these dolls. That was just so sad. The one where the woman was like faking her missing her child so that she could abduct other children was crazy. And that one is really sad because you have this mom who is working through trying to accept the fact that 8 years ago her son was abducted and she's never gotten a body, still holding on to the fact that, he's alive. And you have her going to JJ all the time and being like, "Hey JJ, this case, I think is similar to this case. Following it, she becomes an alcoholic. She loses her entire family, all for the hope of this son." And then you find out that the son is alive, but he's been helping them abduct these children. And you find this out because he abducted another child, or this family, this group of people abducted another child, and they keep them and they use them as surrogates for their kids. That was like, there was another one that was like this and it was insane, but they use them for surrogates for their kids. And in doing so, some of them end up dying because they're not behaving the way that they're supposed to, or they don't end up a certain way. Fucking insane. And then the ending where there's like only three of them because one they killed, they incinerated him in a box, in a literal actual incinerator. And then what? It was insane. And then the three of the kids, the boy who's like a teenager now, a girl who was kidnapped a long time ago, and the girl that was just recently kidnapped, they are like going with the girl. She's taking them and she's about to kill them all. And then in the end, the boy ends up killing her. That was some insane shit. But there was a quote that came because he basically was one of the first ones. So he saw it everything. And one of the families, because they called in all these families when they realized that there was a connection, and we're like, "We don't know if your kids are alive or not, but we all like, can we get some information for you?" One of the families, their son had died the day before. And the line was, "He was alive yesterday." Broke my heart. It was such a terrible thing. There were some more episodes that were just destructive to my psyche. The episode that they were like kidnapping girls and impregnating them and then killing them if they didn't have the babies that they wanted to, because this woman had breast cancer and she was unable to have kids. So she kept forcing these girls to have kids. And I was like the only way that her husband, like they had a relationship with them. And oh my gosh, it was just so sick and sad. And you realize that some of these babies, they actually gave up for adoption because they didn't want to like hurt some of the babies. They gave up the babies for adoption and they live with other people, even though their parents are like, oh my, some of these stories just hit so hard. They're so difficult. The spinoff episode was interesting. Them trying to introduce a new kind of spinoff to Criminal Minds, which we saw like with the Rookie, and they did the Rookie FBI, and that didn't really last that long. And then we got some of the characters back from that. They did another one, and that episode was interesting. I love it. You can always tell though when it's a spinoff episode when they're trying to introduce new people in a new show. You can always tell. I could tell with Bones. I could tell with Criminal Minds. I could tell with all of them. And so I immediately like Googled and was like, "What is this? Is this a spinoff episode?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Okay, great. Glad that I know this." But the to me, the biggest Like, there's things that other characters went through, there's things that Prentice went through, there's things had a really hard time coming to terms with the fact that they couldn't alert the people and the media about a potential anthrax threat, and JJ struggled with, like, her kid and not being able to tell her family, and, like, that was really difficult to watch and see. Those there were times that they really went through it. There was a theme for, like, JJ about her being a mom and that affecting, how she sees things and how she does things, and I'm a little bit into season 6, episode 1, and that kinda comes out again, and I love that, like, depth, that these women aren't like JJ's not any less effective because of the fact that she's a mom. She is just simply considering things differently now, and her mindset, the way that she approaches things is different, and it sometimes helps with the case, and I love that. Reed, obviously, with his thing, I was kinda looking it up, and they said Reed felt like he was getting colder. I didn't personally see that, but that's not me. But Hutch and Morgan, to me, had the biggest struggles and the biggest challenges through this. Hutch obviously had the biggest. Hutch's family, Hutch gets eeked, and his family has to go into hiding, and that changes how he's respond. And Derek's really worried about him getting out of the hospital and his family, and him not being there. And how do we figure this out? Like, that's a real concern and fucking fair, because, like, what are we doing here? Um, And, Morgan was really concerned about how it was affecting the way that he did things and he acted, and it did affect him for a bit. But then they kind of reconciled. But then Hotch is starting to get so much pressure from overhead, and I keep forgetting what her name is, but from up above. And he's getting pressure that he's no longer going to be the leader of this team. And it was all because of Foyette. He not only was he losing his family, but he might have lost the job that he loved because of Foyette. So what he ends up doing is putting pressure on Morgan without telling him, which was kind of like fucks. Like, we're a team. Just give me a heads up. And he tells Morgan that he wants Morgan to lead the team because he has to step down. Because if he doesn't step down, it won't be a step down. They'll probably just take him off the team. And you're kind of just like, that's actually really sad. We heart Hodge. We want him to stay. We don't want him to get off the team. But regardless, that goes on, and it's just so freaking much, and it's a lot. And Morgan struggles. One of the things that I love about it is he struggles with it simply because he doesn't want to step on Hotch's toes, and he doesn't want to be the leader. He's okay with being the defender, the heart of the team. What to me is what Morgan really is, the defender and the heart of the team. He doesn't necessarily want to lead it. He respects Hotch so much, even if they disagree. He doesn't want to take over the team. And seeing him have to do that in the episode where, he's reaching out to relative of a victim, and they have kind of like this almost like brother sister kind of thing going on, even though Garcia was so worried that he was like attaching feelings. And when she appeared in the next episode, I was like, ooh, what's happening? But it was nice for him to kind of show that vulnerability. Like, I actually am afraid about being a good leader, and him get to show that. It was interesting for the looks and side glances that everybody else was giving him, but it was nice when they were like, "Oh, here you go, Morgan." Because he didn't want to take Hodge's, like, he really didn't. He didn't want Hodge's job. He didn't want to take his space. He didn't want to take his office. He was like, this is all Hodge. I'm just here to, like, be here for a second. I don't want this." And that was something that was really reiterated through all of it. But he did a fantastic job. He did. Shout out to him. Um, the hard part though was how the Hotch Morgan Foyette thing came to end, and the episode starts and you like know what's going on, and it starts with them being interviewed, and you're like, oh fuck, something happened, and you're just hoping that it's not what it is, but it ends up partially being what it is, which is Foyette found his family, and when Foyette found his family, he destroyed, literally, that's the best word to say, he destroyed the agent that was sent was with them to protect them. And then he found out he convinced Haley to give up where he lived, and everybody's kind of following and catching on and like keeping up with him because they started to learn more information. And Hodge is on his way to try to get to them, and he's talking to Foyette, and he's like, "Please don't do this. Please don't do this." And Foyette's like, "Oh, well, there's your wife or your ex-wife, and there's your kid. Do you think your kid with the gate?" And they end up being at like the old house. Then Foyette calls Hotch again, and he's like, "Hey," and he has Haley call him, and she's like, "What's going on?" And then she was like, "You're not dead." And he was like, "No," because they told Haley that he was dead. And then she realizes that this guy's the guy that she's been hiding from and that he was protecting her from this entire time. And she kind of just has this moment and she's like, okay, well, shit. Um, and she kind of realizes that she's going to die. And I think that both Hotch and her realized that they were gonna die, and the step was to protect the son, and the way that he protected the son was the sweetest thing ever by telling him to go work on the case. And then they have a flashback eventually because this is all done through interviews. So they're interviewing every different member of the BAU team, and they're trying to figure out this information. And they get to this place, and they're like, "Oh crap! Well, shit." Um, but you get this beautiful like place between them where they're talking about it, and it's so cute how he saves his son, and you get to see that. And it's this moment where his son liked to just hide in this little cubby place in the office, and he would tell, "Hey, Dad, I'm working the case." And like his mom knew, and Haley and Hotch knew, but Foyette didn't. And it was just crazy. It was a lot. It was so much to see. It was so much to go through. That was so stressful. And I was like hoping that they were going to save Haley, but they didn't. Then the next one is the funeral, and they have another case, and Hotch has his kid to take care of now. So what is he going to do? Is he going to give up his, future with the BAU? Is he going to give all that up? They offered him retirement. Does he give all that up to take care of his son? And then eventually he doesn't, and he gets his job back because Morgan didn't want it, but people were questioning because Morgan was so good, because he did better than everybody expected, if Morgan was going to give it up, and gave it up without a second. Not only did he give it up, but he gave up the position back to Hodge and offered to do the paperwork that he now knew how to do so that Hodge could get home early enough for his kid. And that was really sweet. And Haley's sister offered and basically begged, like, "This is all I have left of my sister. Please let me come and help." And it was a really nice moment to see like a group of people come together. But then in the end of all of this, you have the last episode. Gosh, if you're not if you like listening to this has made you decide to watch Criminal Minds, do not listen to this part. You get to the last episode and they're following this really weird killer that like does I can't even say it podcast wise. I guess I could. He murders the husband, he rapes the wife and makes the husband watch. And then when he murders the husband, he makes the wife watch. And they learn that he's been doing this a really long time. And there's this detective that they come in with, and he responds to the kid weird. And Morgan picks it up, and I also picked it up. I was like, this is such a like he's not wanting to get any information that they needed. He's kind of just like answering the questions for the kid and everything. And you get to this place, and then you find out that one of the first victims that this serial killer, like one of his first victims, was the detective's family. And the detective just didn't remember, and his remaining family didn't tell him. And then you realize that this guy is actually just trying to get to this guy, and he thinks that the detective's career is all to the serial killer. And there's a rush, and Morgan's with them, and they're trying to get to his sister's apartment, and she's not there. And then they end up at a house, and his sister and his daughter, the detective's sister and the detective's daughter, are there. And this is the part where it gets fucked. Morgan's like, "We need to stay together." They don't stay together. Morgan goes alone. He gets fucked up by the guy. Then the other guy comes in. He won't shoot the guy because the guy has a gun to his daughter. And he's like, "Yo, what do I do?" And he's like, "No, I just want to protect my daughter." And then in the end, the detective ends up getting shot only after the serial killer makes Morgan promise to the detective who's about to get shot that he will find his daughter. And it's like crazy and it's insane. And then you end the episode and the guy shot dead. The serial killer kidnaps the daughter, and Morgan and the sister are just left there. You're like, and my poor baby Morgan, he went through it. He went through it. He gave his all to the team, and then he ended up busted in the end. So that's kind of how that went. It was crazy. It was insane. And I realize now that we don't even have enough time to talk about the podcast with Hayden Panettiere. So we're gonna have to make that a special episode for all of you guys who are paid subscribers. I'm gonna make it a special episode. Hopefully, cross our fingers. I don't have it in me today. I will record it soon though, because I have my notes and I really want to talk about it. It's not going to be a long thing. It's just going to be an added bonus. So look for the bonus episode coming real soon. And thank you guys so very much for tuning in to basically Unbothered Recap. It means so much to me. Please don't forget to follow us on social media. Follow us, like us, share, review, comment, all that jazz. And just tell everybody that this is your new favorite podcast. Until next time, guys. Bye. Gabby Gabs Podcast.